Jonathan Reeves, the so-called failure of a powerful political family, sits humiliated at the farthest table during his brother's wedding. Unknown to them, he's actually the national security advisor to the president, bound by secrecy. When the president himself arrives uninvited to the reception to publicly honor him, the family's illusion of success collapses. Jonathan finally earns respect not because of power, but because of integrity, and redefines what success truly means. The chandeliers above table 26 glowed like stars that refused to shine my way. I sat alone, a spectator at my own brother's coronation. The Riverside Manor ballroom pulsed with polished laughter and the perfume of ambition. Politicians, donors, strategists, everyone who mattered was here. Everyone except me. The seating chart had made it clear: Jonathan Reeves, far corner, near the service door. Exile disguised as etiquette. From here, the family looked smaller than I remembered, distant silhouettes framed by crystal light. My brother Stephen's grin was a politician's currency, bright, hollow, and endlessly rehearsed. His new wife, Georgina, floated beside him in a designer gown that probably cost more than my car. Her father, the congressman, sat at the head table like a monarch evaluating potential heirs. And me? I was the footnote. The black sheep who had never found direction. I raised my glass toward them in mock salute. They didn't notice. They never did. 15 years of silence had turned into stories they told about me, the dropout, the wanderer, the disappointment. No one ever asked what I'd really been doing. And I couldn't tell them even if I wanted to. The work I did didn't fit into campaign speeches or cocktail conversations. My phone vibrated once on the table, an encrypted line only one group could reach. "Reeves," I answered quietly. "Overwatch reports the president's on the move," said Chief of Staff Morrison. He cleared his schedule. I frowned. "To where?" "Riverside Manor. Your brother's wedding," he said, and I quote, "My national security advisor's family should understand who he actually is." My throat tightened. "That's not advisable, sir." "Neither is underestimating you, apparently." ETA 12 minutes. The line clicked off. My heart beat once, hard. Then again. I looked across the ballroom one last time. Stephen was laughing with Georgina's father, his voice carrying just enough to reach the outer tables. "Family's complicated," he was saying. "Some of us chase real power. Others just drift." Laughter followed. I took a slow breath, the kind they teach you before entering a crisis briefing. 12 minutes. For once, I wouldn't have to defend myself. The truth was coming, and it had a motorcade. The clinking of silverware covered the low hum of political networking. Waiters moved like trained choreography. Every smile was an exchange rate. Every compliment, an investment. Stephen's speech began with the practiced rhythm of someone who'd been rehearsing in mirrors his whole life. "I stand here tonight surrounded by family, by mentors, by leaders who've shaped the future I hope to serve." His words rolled off him like silk. I wondered if he ever realized sincerity didn't echo. "Even my brother Jonathan's here tonight," he added with a benevolent smile. "He's taken a different path. But we love him nonetheless." The laughter that followed was polite, the kind that wounds softly. My fork stayed still. My pulse did not. The clock on the wall ticked towards 7:43. 8 minutes. My father leaned in toward a senator's aide. "Jonathan works for some department in Washington," he explained. "Nothing like Stephen's legal career." "Stephen's on track for a congressional seat." "Nothing like Stephen." The phrase was a family anthem. Outside the ballroom windows, the river shimmered under night floodlights. Somewhere beyond those glass panes, an invisible perimeter was already forming. Secret Service advance teams never missed a beat. I caught sight of one of them near the catering entrance, subtle, composed, scanning. A ghost among tuxedos. My lips curved slightly. They were early. Georgina laughed too loudly at something her mother whispered. Her father checked his phone, no doubt coordinating tomorrow's press release. They were born into performance. I was trained for silence. 7:42, Stephen raised his champagne glass. To legacy, to power, to family. As everyone stood to toast, a vibration rippled through the glassware, low, rhythmic, unmistakable. Helicopter rotors. The kind of sound you don't hear unless it's meant to be heard. Conversations faltered. Stephen frowned toward the ceiling. Is that? The first Secret Service agent entered, calm and commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. The ballroom froze. Through the grand windows, Marine One descended like a mechanical angel, its lights cutting through the night. Gasps rose. Phones lifted. I exhaled slowly, my reflection in the champagne glass steady now. For 15 years I'd lived in silence. Tonight, silence was over. The doors burst open with the quiet authority of inevitability. Secret Service agents fanned out in precise geometry. Every movement deliberate. Every breath calculated. Then came the unmistakable silhouette, tall, composed, commanding. The President of the United States walked into my brother's wedding reception. The music stopped. A fork clattered to the floor somewhere near table 12. Stephen froze mid-toast, mouth half open. The President scanned the room until his eyes met mine, across chandeliers, politicians, and disbelief. Jonathan, he said, his voice cutting through the silence. There you are. You could feel the collective heartbeat of 200 guests skip in unison. He crossed the ballroom with a soldier's gait, shaking no hands, offering no smiles, walking straight to the farthest corner, to table 26. He extended his hand. Apologies for the dramatic entrance. Cabinet meeting ran long. But I couldn't miss your brother's wedding. My hand met his automatically. Warm grip. Iron control. Gasps and camera flashes erupted. Mr. President, I said softly. You didn't need to, nonsense, he interrupted. After all you've done this week, negotiating that foreign minister crisis, preventing what could have turned global, I owed you this. Besides, his eyes swept across the stunned room. I wanted your family to know who you actually are. The silence thickened. Stephen's skin had gone pale. Georgina's political mask cracked. The President turned toward the head table. Forgive the intrusion, he said pleasantly, but I'm curious. Why is my national security advisor seated near the coat check? The room inhaled. No one exhaled. My father stammered, we didn't realize that he's one of the most trusted men in this administration. The President smiled without warmth. Now you do. It wasn't vengeance that flooded me then. It was release. The kind that feels like the first breath after years underwater. The ballroom had transformed into a press-free political battlefield. Secret Service established a perimeter, agents quietly sealing entrances. The air buzzed with whispered recalculations, everyone trying to rewrite their internal hierarchies. Stephen approached, voice trembling. Jonathan, why didn't you tell us? You never asked, I said simply. He blinked. But, National Security Advisor? You. Yes, I replied. 15 years in classified operations. You called it drifting. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. The congressman's wife had tears in her eyes, not from remorse, but from panic. Her family's influence was suddenly dwarfed. The President's chief of staff added chairs near table 26. The symbolic center had shifted. Everyone who once dismissed me now orbited around me, not from love, but gravity. The President stood again, addressing the crowd. I'll keep this brief. Some people measure power by visibility. Others measure it by responsibility. Jonathan Reeves is the latter. He's briefed me daily for 3 years. His work has prevented wars none of you will ever hear about. You should be proud. He looked at my family as he said it, not unkindly, but with conviction. My mother's eyes glistened. My father's jaw worked soundlessly. Stephen looked like a man watching his own reflection shatter. The President placed a hand on my shoulder. The quiet ones often hold the line for the loud ones. Remember that. And just like that, he was gone, escorted back through a stunned silence that would echo for years. When Marine One's sound faded, the ballroom erupted in whispers. The moment replayed across every corner, disbelief, awe, envy. Stephen approached again, slower this time. His voice was small. Jonathan, I've been terrible to you. I called you a failure. I looked up at him. You needed someone beneath you to feel successful. He winced. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. My voice stayed calm. You wanted easy proof. Titles. Headlines. You measured worth by noise. Georgina's eyes brimmed with tears, but even now I saw calculation flickering behind them. Her father's phone was already out, thumbs moving fast, probably drafting a press statement. "I don't need inclusion now that it's convenient," I said. "I needed it when you thought I was nothing." My mother stepped forward, voice trembling. "We're proud of you, son. We just didn't understand." "Then start by understanding this," I replied softly. "Respect shouldn't require an audience." Her tears fell silently. Stephen swallowed. "Can we fix this?" "Maybe," I said. "But not tonight." The crowd began to move again, music hesitantly resumed. The president's visit would dominate headlines, but for me, the noise faded into static. The people who once ignored me now smiled too brightly. Their validation arrived too late. I sat back down at table 26, the same chair, same corner, only now the room bent around it. Funny thing about exile, it teaches you peace long before it teaches you pride. By dawn, every network had the footage. President defense advisor at family wedding trended globally. Analysts called it an extraordinary act of loyalty. My inbox overflowed, my silence remained. Stephen left 19 voicemails, apologies disguised as opportunity. "This could actually help our campaign," one said. "We should coordinate messaging." Delete. 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 At the White House briefing, the president greeted me with his usual calm. "You surviving the media circus?" "Barely," I said, managing a smile. He chuckled. Apparently my approval rating went up 5 points. Who knew basic decency was popular? The room laughed. I didn't. I was still replaying the look on my family's faces, the mixture of shame and awakening. After the meeting, Morrison approached. "Your father tried to enter the West Wing this morning. Claimed family emergency access." I sighed. "Standard protocol applies." "Already done," he said. "Also, the wedding photographer sent these." He handed me an envelope. Inside were photos, me and the president at table 26, surrounded by stunned faces frozen mid-realization. I traced the image with my thumb, the irony too poetic to ignore. Later that night, alone in my office, I opened a message from Stephen. "You're being selfish. This family made you who you are." I typed one line back, "No, Stephen. I became who I am because you didn't believe I could." Then I deleted the thread. Out my window, the city lights pulsed like stars, distant, unbothered, eternal. Somewhere below, power played its endless games. But I'd learned something long ago: the truest power is invisible. It works quietly, protects quietly, endures quietly. Table 26 was never exile. It was clarity. And I'd stay there, where the noise couldn't reach, where the work actually mattered.